Welcome to Rev Up Your Business with Hilda Gann, the podcast for people-centric leaders, business owners, and HR professionals who know that people are at the heart of business success. Join me and industry experts as we explore the key aspects of building a thriving company, sharing cutting-edge strategies, impactful insights, and the latest trends to help you ignite your business growth. It's time to rev up your leadership, rev up your success. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Rev Up Your Business. I am on set here with NVISION's George Arabian. So this is quite the treat. Today we're actually focusing on building brands, building culture, the intersection of marketing and leadership. My guest today is George Arabian. As the CEO of NVISION, one of Canada's top digital marketing and web design agencies, George Arabian leads with a relentless focus on results. With over a decade of experience transforming businesses across North America, George has a passion for using cutting-edge digital strategies to change the trajectory of his client success. His human-first approach, combined with a deep understanding of marketing nuance, has earned NVISION a reputation for turning weak strategies into robust revenue-generating machines. Coming to Canada as a young child, George's personal journey of escaping the war in Lebanon and building from the ground up has shaped his leadership style. He's committed to fostering a culture where people thrive, combining his why positively impacting as many people as possible into every facet of the agency. He also is the recipient of the Markham Board of Trade Business Employer of Excellence, not once when he was a company of 10 people 10 years ago, but twice, recently in 2023. Beyond business, George is a podcaster hosting Brews and Buzzwords, and I'm on the set today right now. And the podcast helps to demystify digital marketing, and an active member of Agency Mastery Group, which George is. He's driven by his vision of helping others grow while also chasing his dream of owning a Lamborghini, all while ensuring NVISION continues to evolve as a leader in the digital landscape. I am so excited for us to do this podcast.
Likewise, I'm very excited for this conversation.
And I really wanted to focus on the two things you're really good at, this digital marketing agency that you've created and the work that you do for people. So we're going to dive in deep in understanding some of the key trends and strategies, or the key no-nos now in marketing. But I also want to focus on the people aspects that you have for your company. You know, you were recognized twice as a business employer of excellence. So I'd like to focus on that. But let's start with the marketing aspect.
Absolutely.
A lot of people are, they're not happy with their websites and they decide they want to change it. So tell us a little bit about that kind of obsession that we have about redesigning. Should we or shouldn't we?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think the key there, and first of all, thank you for having me on your show. This is a wonderful opportunity. I'm grateful that we were able to connect. But yeah, when it comes to web and web design, I guess the fixation is that if I reposition myself visually, the aesthetic in and of itself is going to help me grow and scale my business. And that is just one component of it. So when we get approached quite frequently around, my website's outdated, it's not looking quite the way it should, one of the things we always address first immediately with our clients is, okay, we can make it look aesthetically better. There's no doubt about that. But how does that align with your growth and your objectives as an organization? Does it align with your values? Does it align with what you want to be known for? So the aesthetic part of it, we got to kill that mindset off to say that in and of itself is going to help shape and shift the organization. There's a lot more to it, and we want to educate our clients and our clients' clients to say they really need to understand at the essence who they are and who they're for.
I think that's so true because, I'm coming up to 8 years in my business, and I have such clarity now on what I wanted to do than I did 7 years ago.
Of course.
So this year, my focus really is about getting that message out about people-centric workplaces, because that's my essence, about that people really drive a success of a business.
Without them, you can't have a business, really. If and maybe the anomalies exist out there where it's a one-person organization doing great work, and good on them. But the reality of it is that most of us have to understand how to manage and how to nurture a healthy culture and do all the things we want for ourselves. The one conversation I have frequently with my staff is, yes, I'm the CEO and the founder, but I certainly don't want to live hypocritically to say, I get these benefits and you don't.
Yeah.
Right. And I see that quite frequently too, where the ownership or the senior leadership, they take advantage of their title or their seniority, and they dismiss that everyone else is also there to help work and contribute, to feel purpose, to feel valued in that organization. So people is everything.
Thank you. And we'll talk more about the people focus. That was my passion. And thank you for including that. But how do you help other clients who finally, like, they don't get the message? They think if it looks pretty, or if they use, this millennium's colors, that's going to attract people. How do you help them dive into finding their essence?
Yeah, it's really challenging. We are a business at the end of the day, and sometimes we fail at it. We sit with clients and we try to articulate the importance of understanding their own purpose. What are they trying to achieve? And oftentimes we're very successful where we can drive that message because they've thought about it. And they already know who they are and they know who they're for.
Yeah.
And there are other moments where the clients are just like, just do the job, would you? Like, stop. It's like, well, you're not going to get the most out of us.
They just want a band, almost they want a Band-Aid. They just need something, right? They don't want to think about the long term.
Well, yeah. And it's...
Or the foundation. Maybe it's not the long term, it's the foundation.
Yeah, I always say if you have a tolerance to some time, I'm not saying an exorbitant amount of time where these projects, instead of 2 months, it's going to take 2 years, because nobody could tolerate that. And it's probably not the most healthy way to approach technology anyways. But if you can take a moment to sit back and look at the big picture and what you're trying to achieve and accomplish, any marketing agency will do a much better job at getting you to that result, as opposed to just slapsticking something together and saying, here you go, here's an updated version of your thing that isn't meaningful or isn't going to be impactful to the consumers who you're trying to attract.
Yeah. I agree with that. Even in HR, I look at foundation. You can't just put something together and just have a policy and procedure. You need to think about, how does that reflect with your own culture, with your own vision? And I remember with one client, I tried to get them to identify what their philosophy was to share with the staff. And they had a coach, so I didn't want to interfere. But finally I said, this is what I think I've heard you say over the last, 3 sessions that we've had. This is what your mission, vision, values is. You know? But she couldn't articulate it, and I never knew why. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, you call it the death of vanity metrics. What does that mean?
Yeah, I'm a huge numbers person. I love numbers. I live and breathe numbers because I enjoy them. But I think the fixation oftentimes is, especially these days where there's an abundance, there's no shortage of metrics you can look at. And the fixation oftentimes with, again, those who haven't been educated is, I need this number to do this thing, or I need this number to be at this percentage of whatever. And when you start to really drill down as to why they want it, it's because they've just heard it's an important figure for them. So when I talk about the death of these vanity numbers, I think people have to come into it always with, what is my goal? Because there's 10 trillion vanity numbers. But if my goal and this vanity metric don't have anything to do with each other and there's no correlation, then why is it important to focus on? You need to put your energy where your energy is going to be maximized to get you the results you're looking for. And the vanity metrics that people get fixated on are the ones that everyone else is speaking about.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, from a marketing point of view, what are some of those vanity metrics? Because some people might say, what is that? Like, I don't know. Is that the number of people that are watching this show, or is it the number of hits that I get on my purchases?
Yeah, sure. It could be any of those. It could be impressions, likes, shares. Really, what the number of people that are following you on whichever channel or platform you're on, how many visitors you got to your website. I mean, all of those metrics can be very important, but they could also be very distracting if they have no relevancy to your overarching objective and goal. So if my goal is to drive lead generation, there are models. So what metrics should we be looking at for lead generation that are important? Does it matter that I got 10 likes on my Facebook post for lead generation? Probably not. But if there is relevancy for driving certain tactics or campaigns, maybe that is relevant. But people come at it with the singularity view that somebody told me that this is an important metric, and I need it.
I go way back in terms of my IT days, and people were just creating reports, tons of reports. Let's throw this in. Let's throw turnover. Let's throw all these numbers in. I'm thinking, they're only valuable if you use them, and you use them to evolve the business or validate the strategies that you've used. And I think you're right. We use too many metrics, which we don't know why we're doing them or whether they'll benefit. So we've got so many hours in the day, so few hours in the day, focus on what is meaningful and what is relevant.
Absolutely. I mean, for us, when people come to us, most instances, they're not well versed in our world and they don't know what else is out there. So it's not that we're dismissing the importance of what they're suggesting to us. We're just trying to align them with their goal. And we try to really filter it down to that one important thing. What's that one thing that's super important to you? As marketers, our jobs are to review metrics and to understand what those metrics mean. To end consumers or our hiring market, it'd be like me going to the doctor and saying, and he determines what my problem is. And he says, I've got 17 different scalpels on my tray of tools. Which one would you like me to use? Well, it's like, I don't care which one you use. Just fix my problem.
Right. Yeah. We don't need the details, right? We just need the outcome.
Exactly. We need the outcomes.
So I'm thinking of my viewers and my listeners, and they're thinking, okay, so can George tell us one key metrics in a certain area? And I don't even want to make it up. So what would you say are a key metric for maybe 2 or 3 different aspects of the work that you might do for a client?
Sure. I mean, they're good questions. I would say an important metric, if you're running social campaigns, is engagement. Mm-hmm. So if you have hypothetically millions of people who follow or subscribe to your channel, but there's zero engagement happening or very little engagement, how good is that content really? Right? So if you have 10,000 likes or followers on Facebook, you put a post up, you should assume a certain ratio of engagement. If it's below a certain threshold, it means that content isn't resonating with that audience. Something is wrong. So engagement becomes a real important factor. Another really important factor, if you're looking for lead generation, is your traffic. Mm-hmm. The number of people who have eyeballs on your products or services. So the traffic volume becomes important. The flip side to that is it quality traffic? So are you engaging with the right amount of traffic? So getting fixated on just sheer volume means nothing if that volume isn't converting into leads.
Yeah.
So there's, traffic is important. Engagement is important from a community perspective. So those would be 2 real good ones that I would focus on.
I remember at one point I thought, okay, I have money now. Let me do something. Let's look at the sales generation. So I use this service. And I doubled the number of LinkedIn followers I had, but it really didn't lead to lead generation. So right. I'm going, okay, what was wrong with this process? And part of it was probably I didn't really have a marketing strategy. The shiny thing said, okay, Hilda, you got money, you spend it on this. But the other thing was that what I did do is I did increase my volume. So that I think was a decent outcome. Maybe I would have worded the emails differently if that's my intended goal. So didn't really know what I was doing. The last point I wanted to talk about before we get into your amazing way of building your culture is end user relevance. Like some people feel that they need to create that. What does that mean, end user relevance?
So really, it's being contextual to your audience. We are, as consumers these days, I mean, we live in a world of infinite content. I didn't coin that phrase, some other brilliant person did, but there's infinite content. So when we're talking about positioning content in front of an individual, if you're trying to advertise to me, selfishly, I want to feel like you're trying to advertise to me and not just casting a large net and trying to get as many potential opportunities as you want. So I'm talking about hyper personalizing content for the audience you're trying to get in front of. And that's a huge challenge for a lot of people. You see these very generic campaigns that exist out there, some well thought out, some not so much. But when you're casting a massive net, the organizations that can do that have tens of millions of dollars at their disposal. The clients we're working with do not have that kind of capital at their disposal to just waste it on a hunch. So the more detail oriented you are to understand your audience, then hyper focus the materials you want to put in front of that audience at the right time, the better your results are going to be.
So in my brain's going, why, how? So give me an example of, I think it's hard for us who are in the business. We're so passionate about it. Don't even realize and step back and say, what does the end user need or want? And one of my coaches said, Hilda, people buy pain pills. They don't buy vitamins. So sometimes I have to step back and say, okay, what's the pain pill? What's keeping them up at night? So how do you help guide your clients to understand and to navel gaze enough to figure out what that end user relevance is?
Yeah, it's a good question. And there's a lot of ways to do it. I mean, one of the easiest ways to do it is something called attribution. So, for example, through our tools and the software that we use, we know the user's journey from when they first saw a blog or a piece of content on social or an email that we distributed. And we know the subjects of each of those things. So we could see what's called attribution, meaning they saw a great piece, a post on our Meta, Instagram or Facebook or YouTube. From there, we usually have a link to take them to a blog. They came to the blog that had the same content type. Now we know they've expressed interest in this field or in this world. So when we distribute an email to that individual, it's about that topic. In your world, for example, you have a few different service categories. If somebody is looking for a very specific thing that you do and you send them a generic HR email, it's not going to resonate as much. No. But if it's focused on that thing that they've expressed interest in, there's a higher probability that they're going to do that outreach or continue to come back.
Yeah. Makes sense. Cool. Thank you for, just letting me dive in deep with marketing questions for you.
Of course.
I always find that the interesting part because I get to ask the questions and learn more and in turn help my viewers and listeners. So another reason I was so excited to have you on our show is because I really, really appreciate the way you've grown your business. I remember when, George is starting a business, and then, George is growing the business. And then I remember in 2013, I didn't remember the year, that he's got the Award of Excellence for as a business employer. And I'm going, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. So to me, you care about people. Mm-hmm. I hear it in your podcasts, and I'd like to know more about your journey, your vision of creating a culture for people to feel like they belong.
Sure. Yeah. I think a large part of I love people. I love the uniqueness of everybody, not necessarily everyone has to align with my views or perspectives, but, we've tried to build a culture here where the people who work here, our values align.
Yes, very important.
And I think that's super important.
It's crucial. It's key. Yeah,
and you were talking about Sylvia earlier.
Yes.
And when Sylvia first came into this agency, the very first question she asked me during our interview together was, what are your values? I was like, what? I'm supposed to be asking the question.
Good for Sylvia.
So, I rhyme off a bunch of things.
Yeah,
I like be a good human and whatever. And so something resonated with her where she trusted that my values aligned. But then the moment she started in this agency, her and I, she was the real driver for we as an organization need to put this down in writing.
Yeah, yeah.
So we did, and it's broadcast on our website. We actually posted live. So people who are interested in working here know what we're all about.
Yep.
But what I think manifested from that to why do I have these values? I think a lot of it's my upbringing. Coming from war, you see the horrors of war and what it does, how it rips families apart and communities apart. And I think somewhere deep ingrained inside me is the being grateful first and foremost for being in a country that is relatively safe, and then building a culture where people feel safe to come into, like come in and be open and honest with one another, be transparent. Don't be afraid that, you're going to get reprimanded because what you think and what I think misalign.
Yeah.
So I've always thought of people as we all bring unique attributes to an organization. And I love it. I love that.
I'm just smiling because what you're saying just so resonates with me and people who've heard my show. Like it's called Rev Up Your Business for a reason, and Rev Up stands for 5 values that were successful in the company that my husband and I created. And Rev Up stands for respect, equality, valued, and then uniqueness. And potential. And every time I hear that word uniqueness from you, I just smile because that makes people feel valued. When you treat them as a person and you value their difference, it's okay to be different. It's okay to be unique because each one of us creates something that is part of the whole. And if we all look the same, then we'd create one product. But because we are unique in different ways, we add value to everybody to create an even better product, right? In my particular instance, without any question. Oh yeah, because you're marketing. You have to be unique all the time.
Yes, but we also have to be open to accepting others' views.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. I don't get it right all the time. There are moments in this agency where I frustrate my staff, and they tell me, but I respect them enough. It's not a confrontation; it's a teach me moment. Teach me why. Why do you think what I'm saying was wrong, or how could I have approached this differently?
But you have created then, just from what you said, you've created this culture where people are okay to say, George, or this doesn't seem right. And you say, well, why? But not in a, well, why? Because I'm the boss and you're supposed to. You created that culture that allows them to be able to challenge and to make it better, right?
Yeah, and sometimes they say it a lot more direct than that.
Well, see, that's even better.
But yes, I've never thought of myself as sitting on this iron throne. I'm just another one. I just want to be just another colleague here with my staff, regardless of my title or founder, whatever. Sometimes I get in the way. Sometimes I become a little too involved in certain things, but that's just, it comes from a good place. And I think my staff realize that. So I'm also learning and I'm also growing into understanding how to better navigate that space.
Yeah.
There's no playbook for it.
No. But I think if you have it here and here, if you have it here and here, then people can see that. There's that genuine authenticity. We talked about Sylvie, and I said, I watched one of the episodes last night, and she sort of said, you were telling about your values, and she said, I've heard it so many times, but until this moment, it seemed like, you got to say all these good things about it. And suddenly, somehow you said it this time, And it was genuine and authentic, and it really hit. Not that the others weren't genuine and authentic, but somehow because she heard the tone and the words, it really meant a lot to her.
I think actions are important. I don't think I've ever tried to be manipulative of a situation. I think, we were saying sometimes you have to repeat yourself countless times before it really hits home.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I'm saying it every single time, I'm saying in my head, I'm authentic.
Yeah.
I'm not manipulating and trying to make stuff up. I'm authentically saying this is what I believe in. But then actions speak louder than words. And, we've taken some, with all my staff and even them, to me, it's when you see them take a action that aligns with the values, then it's real.
And I think she knew you meant it all those times, but this time it really hit home that, God, this guy's the real deal. Right? Yeah. And I was so impressed with that. I'm so impressed with that. There's a lot of things that you do to make this work, and it is a constant thing. It's not like, it just comes easy. It's like a marriage. You work at it and it becomes strong, and the relationships are strong. I know we could talk all day, but I really appreciate the kind of culture that you've created. What's next for you and your company?
It's a great question. So we're actually, funny enough, we're just in our fiscal year end, and we're going away to our big retreat, and we're doing it in Niagara Falls this year. We usually do Collingwood, but we decided to change it up this year. So we do a 2-day retreat where we're going to present our 36-month plan to the staff this is what we're looking to achieve. These are some of the objectives, and culture is a huge part of that, as it always is for me. The revenue numbers and all that stuff, that'll all be presented, but a big chunk of this is making sure that, along with myself, the staff are in a place where they feel safe, they feel valued, they feel like they're working towards purpose and something that resonates with them and their career trajectory. So when we say we're here to change the trajectory of our clients' lives, our clients' businesses, we're also here to change the trajectory of our staff and help them get to the things they want to achieve.
Right.
Yeah.
How do people get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of us is check out our website, nvision.co, not .com, .co, Charlie Orange. Check us out on all the social platforms, and check me out on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you to my listeners and viewers. If you like us, give us a thumbs up, and thanks again.
Thank you, Hilda. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Rev Up Your Business with Hilda Gann. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and Spotify to stay up to date with all of our latest episodes. For more HR tips, strategies, and to learn how you can create a people-centric workplace, visit our website at peoplebrightconsulting.com.